Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. I had originally thought I might do like a moderate type budget for myself, but then I realized I have a ton of mushrooms, zucchini, and cherry tomatoes. And I also have some kale on hand, so I thought I would just make some meals with these ingredients. And later in the video, there are a few things I've been craving and a new dish I want to try, so I thought I would take $15 to the store and pick up a few fun ingredients to inspire this week's menu. I'll show that later on, but first, I'm making a breakfast scramble. Sometimes I like to make a similar version with eggs, but since I'm out of eggs, I'm using tofu. But if you do use eggs, I generally like to add the scrambled eggs in last. So I would probably just make those in a pan, set them aside, make the vegetables, and then add the eggs back in. I add in the kale towards the end because I do want it to have a little bit of body and still some bright green color when I eat it. And then of course I'm adding in the garlic last just because I want to make sure that it doesn't burn, but I do want to make sure that it cooks so that it doesn't have a raw garlic flavor. And then if you'll notice, these cherry tomatoes are just turning out perfect. They get to the point where they're almost to burst, but they haven't quite burst yet. I just love having cherry tomatoes on hand, and I frequently do because I use them in so many different ways. I like them in salads, I love them in pasta dishes, and I definitely love them in breakfast scrambles such as this. I did add just a touch of sriracha seasoning. That's the one I got at Trader Joe's a while back, but if you don't have that, you can always add a little bit of Tabasco or other hot sauce, or you could add some paprika into the mix. There's all kinds of spicy mixes out there today, and this was so delicious. I loved it so much that I made it again for meal prep, and this time I added a few black olives in, and I also sprinkled some nooch on the top, and this was so good that I'm definitely adding this to my meal prep rotation for breakfast. This week I went to a doctor's appointment in Newport Beach, and afterwards I googled a Trader Joe's that was near me, and I found this 4.5-star Trader Joe's in Costa Mesa, and it was so nice. I wish I would have taken some shots in there for you guys. It was big and it had super wide aisles, and it was just such a pleasant shopping experience. Anyway, I picked up these Sweet Tango apples. I've been on a bit of an apple kick lately. I've been eating like 1 or 2 apples a day. And so I've just been trying some new ones. I also like their Kanzi apples. Anyway, I found these habanero lime flour tortillas. I was planning to just get regular flour tortillas, but I saw these and they were so colorful that I picked those up. I'm planning to make some wraps with those. And then I found this almond chipotle dip. Unfortunately, I can no longer eat milk-based products, so I picked this up as a fun ingredient just to give some interest to my wraps, but there are lots of other similar type products in stores I'm sure near you. And then I picked up these red peppers just because I'm craving some fresh summer kind of wraps. I've got 1 foot into winter and 1 foot still into summer, so I'm kind of craving soups, but yet I'm craving these wraps as well. I also got some cilantro that I'm going to add, and then I got a lemon just because I've got a few things that I want to make with that, and you'll see later. And then because I was hungry when I was at the market, I grabbed one of these ridge cut kettle cooked chips along with this, I think it's called balala, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Anyway, this is a Middle Eastern dish. It's a chickpea dish. My youngest son loves this. He can't get enough of these. Anyway, I grabbed one of these just to eat it with my chips, and it was such a great combination. It's got a very bright summer flavor with a little bit of vinegar in it and just a touch of mint, which I'll probably swap out for cilantro. And I was planning to make that in this video. However, I did run out of time, so maybe I'll push that to next week's video because this is a great budget recipe. This almond chipotle is my one fun ingredient for the week. I thought I could use this in several different ways. I'm planning to add it to some wraps. It might also be good drizzled over the top of some chipotle bowls. This was $3.50, and I like the fact that the first ingredient is almonds. It has a strong chipotle flavor, and it's a bit spicy, but I think it's going to be perfect the way I'm planning to use it. It's actually good to use just as a dip with some vegetables. So the first kind of wrap that I'm going to make is actually just going to be with beans because I do have a few in the fridge that I need to use up. I was just reading a comment last night from a viewer that was saying that her mom likes to put jalapeno juice in the beans to thin them out. And I wish I would have done that here because I think that sounds like a great idea. It would add a lot of extra seasoning and flavor to those beans. And it's kind of hard to see here, but I'm adding some chopped cilantro. My lettuce was actually getting a little bit old too because I had some that was cut up in the fridge. And then I don't usually put fresh red peppers in with this kind of a wrap, but it sounds really good to me right now. I love the color of these tortillas. They have some good options in the regular stores as well. I found these Carb Balance Keto Certified Chipotle wraps for $3.58, which is only about 58 cents more than the ones I purchased at Trader Joe's. And even though you can't taste much of a difference in the tortilla, it just looks so pretty and it just changes really the way you feel about what you're eating when it's bright and colorful. This was outstanding. I would definitely buy this chipotle seasoning again. It just kind of kicks it up a notch from the burritos that I've normally been eating. And I like the addition of the crispy red peppers. It makes it a fresher version of a burrito. And for my next meal, I'm using my trifecta of vegetables that I have on hand, which are the cherry tomatoes, zucchinis, and mushrooms. And I'm in the mood for pasta. However, it is midweek and I'm trying to eat a little healthier, so I thought I would use some of this red lentil pasta. And plus, this has a ton of protein, so it's going to be what I think will be a healthy meal. And I'll end up taking this in my lunch for work. I love the smell of these. They smell just like lentils when they're cooking. They have a strong peppery aroma that I love so much. And I find that I like these noodles better when I cook them along with some vegetables, especially with the chewy texture of the mushrooms. I think it just goes really well in there. Oh, and also with the tomatoes, because it just kind of helps with the textural thing, because it doesn't have an identical texture to pasta, but it's definitely something that I can enjoy if I cook it right. And then I've got the pasta water set aside to add back in with some flavor. And I'm going to add some garlic salt here. I should have added in some fresh garlic as well, but I was probably in a hurry when I filmed this because I was getting ready for work. And then I added a ladle of the pasta water back in. And the cherry tomatoes are exactly where I want them to be. And I'm going to go ahead and give this a taste. And this tastes perfect just as it is. However, just to up the nutrition a bit, I'm going to add a little bit of nooch in here. If you're making this for yourself and you don't have that, then you can just basically use the pasta broth along with the garlic seasoning, and it will make a super flavorful broth on its own. But like I said, this is going to add a little protein and B vitamins that I do need. And then I'm going to add in the pasta. And I don't really like to have too much pasta sauce in there. I just like to have a nice flavor. So I think I'll leave mine just like this. I did add a little pepper at the end. But if you want yours a little more saucy, then obviously just add more pasta sauce in. And I've been on an apple kick lately, so I've been taking 2 apples a day. Usually I'll have one for my snack, and then I also have another one on the way home. And if you haven't realized already, I am packing my lunch for work, and I'm also making my breakfast because I usually do eat that in my car. And I was out of regular berries, so I had to add in some huckleberries. They're not as sweet, but they're gonna have to do. And then I have this little thing of peanut butter that I keep at my desk, and I brought it home to refill it. And because I don't have any protein in the oatmeal, I decided to take the leftover lentil noodles and I added a little bit of sesame oil to these, and I'm just going to nibble on these with my breakfast or after my breakfast so I can get some more protein at this meal. And then I also took a little piece of avocado toast. And then here was my lunch later. It's not very beautiful because, you know, it's kind of muted colors, but it did taste good. And it has so much protein in that lentil pasta that it's a great option if you're on a budget and you need an inexpensive protein source, but you don't want to eat beans again. Next up, I'm making some cold wraps, and these are basically what I've been craving all week long. And that's why I got the tortillas and the red peppers. I'm going to be using kale here. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and add just a small amount of oil and lemon. And then I'm going to massage this in a bit. And because kale can be quite fibrous and the stem can be a little thick and hard to chew through. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those from these pieces. And I do think this Italian kale is probably the best kale for this type of application. It's also called lacinato kale. To me, I think this is less fibrous than the curly kind of kale. And that kind, which can have the little tiny strands, almost like strings in it, which can definitely be unpleasant. And basically, I think what I'm doing is just tenderizing the kale a little bit. I don't always do this, but then again, I don't always add kale to my wraps. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how this turns out. If you wanted to add a little bit of a seasoning in here, like that Greek seasoning mix, you could definitely do that. You could add a little garlic salt here if you wanted to, but I'm just going to leave it plain with the lemon. And I think that that's going to be a light and refreshing flavor. And then I'm just going to top it off with some drizzles of the chipotle sauce. This is so good. This is my favorite way to eat fresh, colorful, whole foods that come together to make this beautifully balanced and tasty meal. There is one thing that it's missing, and that is a little bit of avocado. Okay, so the chipotle sauce is just a tad bit too spicy for my liking. So I thought if I added in this creamy avocado, that it would help to balance a little bit more. And of course, I could have gone a little bit lighter on that chipotle, but it does have amazing flavor. And this was so good. This is my favorite discovery lately. It's crazy how just purchasing one $3 sauce can inspire so many different meals. I'm already thinking of maybe making a chipotle bowl with some black beans and corn and avocado and rice, and how delicious that would be. And I'm sure some of you are thinking that, okay, that's great, but I don't have a Trader Joe's near me. That's totally fine. There are lots of other products in many different stores that will work just fine here, and it only takes a drizzle, so the bottle's gonna last you a long time. And of course, you can use sour cream and just add in some chipotle seasoning. Tabasco has a chipotle flavored sauce that would be good added either in sour cream or mayo or vegan mayo. And I think you guys have seen me do that before. So there are lots of options for what you could drizzle onto these. And I think ideally, I would like to make my own so that I could adjust the seasonings. These were just so good. I don't think I would add tomatoes again, just because they're not really adding anything to the flavor of it. And I think I would rather have them on the side. Maybe make a tomato salad with a little vinegar and some onions and cucumbers. I think that would be the best use of the tomatoes. I love the crispiness of these red peppers. I was kind of craving that. And then I love the kale in this. Delicious flavor. The cilantro adds a lot of freshness to this, but of course you can use Italian parsley. I love also that I was able to just open a can of chickpeas and use that as my protein source. Like I said earlier, I was actually envisioning this with a few lentils, so I'm going to have to try that next time. But when I went to my pantry, I realized I'm completely out of lentils. So I'm going to have to pick some up and I'll try that maybe next time. But this is delicious. I definitely recommend giving this a shot. That's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching my video. I do hope I've inspired you on how to use your ingredients in some new ways. Thanks again. I'll see you next week.
Morning has broken, my windows are open. Wanna feel the wind blow through my hair. Which way do I follow? What happens tomorrow? I turn to you and hope you can guide the way. Sometimes I give up, just wanna be on my own. Even in the darkest times, you give me hope. So